Dear Irate Bear, if you ever DM me a video with a fat chick slurping down a burger, yes, I said slurping down a burger, to the point where I gag listening to her tell me that she can't find the bacon but somehow found the lettuce and tomatoes, the burger was as big as her head, I will block you on every single platform known to exist, including Bebo, if it still exists. If not, I'm going back in time just to find you, just to block you on it. Christ, that was horrible. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, I thought we'd address something a little different. I get regularly accused of being a far-right or right-winger, and somehow that's pejorative. To be clear, I don't particularly care if you are left or right. I believe in two things. You are either correct or wrong. So, right or wrong. I said right once and someone said conservative, and I was like, no. Because not all conservatives are correct in positions they hold, because I can prove that to be the case. Now, with the criticism I have taken with regards to me defending the right and having an animal avatar, and yeah, I'm still pretty salty about that comment. That all aside though, I want to address this protest that happened in London, touted by the Daily Mail as a Nazi parade by far-right anti-Muslim football supporters. Now they are called the Democratic Football Lads Alliance. Quite the name. I can't imagine what sport they're into. Now they were originally silently protesting against, well, the usual really, against us bringing migrants back into our country, welcoming rapists, terrorists, because we have a thing where we take responsibility for the people we have somehow allowed to become extreme in this country to then leave and retain their citizenship when they've committed atrocities abroad, so they come back to our country. We're so apologetic, we're more apologetic than Canada, which I think is quite tragic. I'm not, by the way, defending what these people did. Now, to counter this protest, there was a bit of a counter-protest going on by a group of feminists called the Feminist Anti-Fascist Assembly March, which led to the police having to create a cordon, a line. Now, of course, with police cuts, there aren't many police officers. But, of course, in this video, you can see them. They're the ones in the ridiculous vests, armed with origami. You see, our police officers aren't allowed to strike people. Okay, they did there. It was quite a good hit. But our police, for the most part, have to restrain themselves to the point where they are not allowed realistically to use any level of force. I mean, we do have 2 water cannon tank things. We could have used those. But we probably still have a bit of a drought. And we'd have to pull in water from the Thames, which is borderline radioactive at this point. So for the rest of this video, we're going to address an article from the Daily Mail. I have linked a few others below from the Independent and of course the BBC. But this was the first one I saw, and I think it's quite interesting. It also helps to understand how the media portrays things and then how they themselves have portrayed themselves on their own social media, which we will address as well with the Democratic Football Lads Alliance having a Twitter. Is it verified? Unsurprisingly, they are not verified at this time, and I have tweeted to them asking what their reasons are for doing things, what their motivation is to become a more vocal voice. I wouldn't mind asking why that name, but again, it wouldn't surprise me if people supporters of UKIP, EDL, BNP were also supporters of this, and because of that, guilt by association comes into play, and yes, there is media bias when it comes to associations with other groups, political groups, or hate groups, depending on what you want to call them. I just call them far-right. Meh. So, violent scenes have erupted in central London as supporters of the right-wing Democratic Football Lads Alliance clashed with police and rival demonstrators during a march, and one told officers, "I'll kill you." According to the DFLA, there were about 100,000 of them there. One person told an officer, "I'll kill you." I hope the person was arrested, I guess. Hundreds of Football Lads protesters marched from Park Lane to Whitehall, with one of them seen making a Nazi salute, before some of them began to push through police escorts and chaos ensued. As far as the Nazi salute goes, it does seem to be individuals do like to use that salute for some kind of purity reason. I don't know why, but they do, and it's quite embarrassing. Many could be heard chanting, "Whose streets? Our streets?" as the group marched down Pall Mall on Saturday afternoon in one of their largest demonstrations so far. Well, according to their Twitter, it was an absolute rip-roaring success, because they are finally starting to get noticed by the biased left-wing media. Organisers say they were protesting returning jihadists, thousands of AWOL migrants, rape gangs and groomers, and veterans treated like traitors. I did notice on Twitter some saying they didn't understand what the DFLA were doing or what they were trying to achieve. Well, apparently this was it. I have of course asked them on Twitter, and if they do respond by the time I make this video public, I will put it right here. And as far as their issues go, returning jihadists, my view is simple. If you've committed a crime in another country, you do the time or serve the punishment in that country, even if it means the death penalty. While we should take responsibility for how you became the extreme that you became, we should not welcome you with open arms. And we should not let you serve time in our penal system, because our penal system has better Wi-Fi. Our penal system is basically a nursery. It's glorious. It's in fact better than the council homes we put many of our tenants in to suffer. When was the last time you saw a prison in the UK with mould? Thousands of AWOL migrants. Yep. Rape gangs, which is only really now starting to get addressed. We have after all had many issues with rape gangs over the years, and it is truly astonishing that this is seen as somehow controversial. And groomers, not exclusive to Muslims of course, cough, Jimmy Savile, cough, and veterans treated like traitors. This is actually something that's quite common in many countries. The more liberally democratic or the more passive people do not tend to appreciate war or the reason why it happens. In some instances, some wars are seen as illegal, and one could certainly argue certain wars that have taken place over the last 20 years were illegal or driven by money. Therefore, the soldiers that acted on the orders, even though they are doing exactly as they should, are seen as traitors. It is an unfortunate consequence. I am not trying to justify it, by the way. I think anyone who fights for their country should be respected. It is the people above them that should be treated with disdain. And how the fuck George Bush and Tony Blair aren't locked up yet is an absolute mystery to me. Now, to get back on track, vans and rioters had to separate a rival crowd of counter-protesters, Antifa, many of them masked, imagine my shock, who shouted Nazi scum off our street at the DFLA in clashes near Trafalgar Square. They're Antifa. It is a trademark of any Antifa wing, or brotherhood, or clan, or gang, or whatever you want to call them, mob, to get a bit rowdy, to not show who they are even though the DFLA are unmasked, to somehow shame them when they are quite proud of who they are, but all the while remain utterly cowardly in their own conviction. Watch out abuse at someone like that, perhaps remove your masks. I know, animal avatar. I get it. Now, some of the signs I noticed in the video included things like no to Sharia law, but as we all know, Sharia law has already found its place in the United Kingdom. I also noticed a number of demonstrators fighting with officers, which is unfortunate, and I hope all those who assaulted any officer was arrested. You should not seek to resolve your differences with violence, and if Antifa threw the first punch, put your hand behind your back and don't engage. Let them be the children they were born to be. I'm not saying this to support you, DFLA, because I think you've been painted with enough of a tarnished brush that even if I tried to paint you in a good light, it would just come across as poor and bad optics. Now, prior to the event, I'm reading from the article again, they posted, from the establishment, the media and the far left returning jihadists, veterans treated like traitors, thousands of AWOL migrants, Dickens' dossier on the establishment's paedophile ring, rape gangs and groomers, pedos given weak sentences, epidemic of gang and knife crime, police cuts when we need more, cover-ups and political injustices, the constant threat of terror but we still let strangers in, the silence is deafening, so we march in silence. London, October 13th, our silence will speak volumes. We are not going away. DFLA are here to stay. Well, they do raise some points. Pedophiles are given weak sentences, that has been proven multiple times. There is an epidemic of gang and knife crime, the knife crime especially. Police cuts, yes, that is very much true. The government continues to say 450 million will be made available, extra available to police officers, but 150 million is reserved for the military and for arms basically. and then the rest is divvied up in other areas, leaving only about 200 million across all the Met. That's not going to go very far when you really think about it. It's a lot of money, I agree, but it doesn't actually do much. There have been known to be cover-ups. There are plenty of political injustices. And the letting strangers in, well, Theresa May is still trying to keep us tethered to the EU, either because she is trying to break the British people to the point where they beg the EU to take them in, and we become the EU's bitch, or because Theresa May is genuinely as stupid as she fucking looks when she dances. I do apologise if I seem a little abrupt with my view on Theresa May, but it is getting quite tiresome when I cover PMQs on the Cthulhu-Kin and Friend Show YouTube channel, and all she does is make more of a mockery of our democracy, more of a mockery of everything we stand for. The group, the DFLA that is, have also posted a video to Facebook, which I'm going to play, of members of the group handing in a letter to Downing Street earlier today. This is all quite interesting to me. As far as I'm concerned, groups like this should be allowed to exist. But if you're going to address them by just being violent, by lashing out and forcing them to also be violent, you are not resolving them. The problem that is them, that is. You are instead invigorating them. And there are many articles character assassinating the DFLA. That's fine. I don't mind. Because it's always going to happen. As far as I'm concerned, they do come across as a hate group because of how the media has very quickly pounced on this and because of what happened with the violence. I hope that nobody was hurt during the scuffles. And to Antifa, please stop attacking people. It is getting quite tiresome to report on a bunch of cowards with masks, pouncing at people, shouting random thought-terminating cliché remarks. It is, well, actually cliché of you now, to be honest. It's quite embarrassing. Now, before I finish, I wanted to apologise again for not making a video on Thursday. For 2 weeks in a row on a Thursday I've had a dental appointment, rendering my ability to make a video on Thursday impossible. But I have no dental appointments now until April for a checkup, so I should be back to my regular upload schedule of Sunday through till Thursday. So I hope everyone has a lovely Sunday, and thank you all for listening.
Oh, goddowns.
In your arse.
Imagine my shock